So I know everybody out there seems to like all these kind of military acronyms. So I'm going to use the acronym COLD. All right. So let's get on with it. So code word cold. The C, of course, stands for keep your clothing clean. All right. Keeping your clothing clean. The O is avoid overheating. The L is wear loose layers. All right. And the D is keep your clothing dry. Now all these things sound really simple. What I find, however, is that especially early winter here, when it's not super cold out yet, like on that camping trip we were out at, I think the coldest it got was like minus 12 Celsius. Whenever I say a temperature, I'm just going to be using Celsius, degrees Celsius, okay? Canadian metric system. All right. So it only got down to minus 12. There was some light snow. Everything was not soaking wet, but damp, and quite a bit of condensation. Like the air was still a little bit. There was still a bit of moisture in the air. It wasn't like when you hit like 25 or 30 below Celsius, where everything is dry, which I prefer, to tell you the truth. I know it sounds crazy. Yes, it's cold, but you can dress for it a lot easier. So with all this moisture and stuff, it's still cold, and you want to wear lots of clothes, but you go and you take, you go and you throw your pack on, and start hiking, and in 100 yards you start sweating. So immediately you got to stop, throw your stuff off, and take a layer off. So that's the kind of things I consider. Okay. Anyhow, getting back to this. So keeping your clothing clean. Now that sounds fairly easy, right? But you've seen in some of the pictures, I was kneeling on the ground, doing this, doing that, cooking, all that kind of stuff, and of course doing all the work. Not all the work. My son did most of the work. You get bark chips and and wood chips from the chainsaw stuck to yourself, those kind of things. So it sounds easy, but it's really not. So what I do is every time I get covered in saw chips or bark or whatever like that, I just brush it off. I just brush it off, stamp my feet, brush it, get it off me as fast as I can, kind of deal. Okay. So avoiding overheating. All right, like we were talking about earlier here. If you're overdressed and don't start removing those layers, you're going to sweat up, and all of your under layers are going to get wet, which can render some of them pretty useless, or over a short period of time, it can render even the best synthetic Under Armours and Helly Hansen gear. It'll render them useless after a bit. Okay. Down here, wear loosen in layers. Wear your clothing loosen in layers. So that's a pretty simple thing. What I like to do, even when it's warmer out, like minus 10, like say minus 10 to minus 15, is I'll wear a t-shirt, my normal underwear, of course. Sometimes I'll throw on Under Armour, not too often anymore. And chuck on my long johns, two piece, so that you can vent them. The one piecers, I wear them when it's really cold, but the two-piece long johns is good up to about minus 15, in my opinion, anyhow. So keeping your clothing dry. So we've already been up here and covered overheating. All right, keeping them clean and loosening and wearing them loosened in layers. When you went through those first three points, you come right down to here to keeping clothing dry. These 3 points right here all relate to this one. All right, there we go. Okay, So we'll move down here to the sleep system, and your sleep system for winter or cold weather camping, even light winter camping, it's going to make life a lot easier on you. It should consist of 4 things. You should have an underlayer, a liner for your sleeping bag, a rated sleeping bag, okay, for your environment, whatever environment you're going into, and a cover layer. All right, now let's go through this. Okay, so your underlayer could consist of a bed of boughs, like what you've seen in my last video. In that one, we'd thrown down a mattress of boughs. It was about a foot thick. Even after we slept on it, it was really, really thick. But pardon me, guys. I'm sorry. But on top of that layer of boughs, we went and threw out our Thermarest self-inflating mattresses. Okay, so that's just that gives us another layer between us and the frozen ground, and it's good to do that. It's very good. Your sleeping bag liner. I've seen guys just make them out of heavy cotton and sew them together and stuff them in their sleeping bag, and that's great. You know, like you get in there, you're all sweaty and everything, and that cotton just soaks up the moisture, and it's easy to wash. That's a big thing. It's very, 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 very easy to wash, even in the field. Okay, what I use is one of those little hot core sleeping liners. It ups the rating of your sleeping bag, and so that keeps my sleeping bag itself from getting dirty, and I'll be more effective, and it'll be effective for a longer period of time. All right. So, rated sleeping bag. Knowing the environment you're going into. Where we were camping, it was right around, what was the altitude there? I believe it was right around 3,200 feet. That doesn't sound like much for you guys that live in Colorado and stuff like that. But 3,200 feet here in Alberta is quite high, and very cold too. It can be. So you got a rated sleeping bag. Mine, the one I will show you in my review, it's rated to 20 below. Yeah, minus 20 Celsius. Okay, so enough on beating that up. And cover layer over top of the sleeping bag to keep it from getting burnt from any little sparks, things like that. I use a wool blanket myself, and that does add to the effectiveness of the sleeping bag, keeping it effective longer. It keeps any frost off of it, and other condensation. All right. Plus, wool is natural fiber, and it doesn't catch fire very easily if you get any sparks from your fire. All right. So basic. Without beating the crap out of all this, the basic things that you should be doing with your sleeping system, as well as your clothing, okay, they should all be brushed off and air dried daily, okay, all brushed off and air dried daily. Fluff up your boughs underneath, and those should be changed out. Depending on how much time you spend inside your shelter, those should be changed out or added to, rather. They should be added to about every 3 days. All right. Okay, guys. I hope this helps some of you out there, and maybe it'll keep you safe someday. Right, everybody. Take care.